This video contains content that some may find disturbing. Millions of kids grew up watching Toby Turner, aka Tobuscus, on YouTube every single day. He has hit songs, had a lucrative book deal, and even his own video game. He claims to have 6 billion views across all his content, but no one has talked about him in years. And that's because they saw their hero become embroiled in drug addiction, relationship dramas, and sexual assault allegations. And recently, controversies over trans rights,
cut his wiener off,
politics, and Kyle Rittenhouse. However, Toby is still trying to recapture his glory days. The tragic thing is, nearly 20 years after starting his career and pushing 40 years old, this is his last chance. So let's look at what exactly happened to Tobuscus and see why his latest comeback attempt is destined to be his biggest failure yet. Toby's YouTube career began all the way back in 2006 when he started uploading content he was passionate about growing up, a mixture of music, acting, and comedy. Eventually, he figured out how to combine all of these into a winning formula. He'd learned piano as a kid and got really good at guitar when one of his college teachers challenged him to learn the song Classical Gas in 1 week. If he could do it, she said she would never give him homework ever again.
So naturally, I looked her in the eyes and I said, "Deal."
It was an incredible amount of work to avoid doing work. Toby never wanted a real job, so he worked extra hard to make sure he didn't have to get one. And for years, it worked. December 8th, 2009 was the start of something special for the Tobuscus channel. It was the first upload in his literal trailer series.
Flashed his old mid-air stab, breaking rock sex scenes, unsheathed bag I dies, then another dragon flies.
Over the next few years, it would become one of the most popular series on YouTube, with his literal Assassin's Creed Brotherhood trailer in 2010 getting 52 million views. But Toby learned quicker than most that social media success is more than just about making good content. You need a reason for people to care about you. And he did that with his personality, some clever self-promotion, and sheer volume of content. He had a super energetic persona that kids loved. And he didn't swear, so parents loved him too. He had catchphrases that were repeated in playgrounds around the world.
Outro of darkness, then redness, then whiteness. That's a good outro. You're welcome.
And instead of just telling people to subscribe to his channel, he even had his own theme song.
Subscribe.
But perhaps most importantly, Toby could do what many YouTubers fail to: adapt with the times and changing trends. The most popular creators realized they didn't necessarily have to compete with each other. They could collaborate instead and win over a whole new audience. Toby made an appearance on one of the early episodes of The Annoying Orange, an incredibly popular series at the time, which ended up with him starring in the Cartoon Network series. He also collaborated with OG YouTubers like iJustine, Jax Films, and Olga K. He had a good working relationship with Philip DeFranco on popular projects such as Like Totally Awesome and Cute Win Fail, a relationship that would take a dark turn a few years later, but we'll get to that.
Audience? What are you doing looking at my shadow? Audience, come on, look at my face. This is awkward, and there's lots of cars here that are listening to me talk.
When vlogging first took off, Toby was right there to jump on the bandwagon and make it his own. Every day he would talk into his camera while doing things as mundane as going on a walk and getting a coffee. Then he'd upload them, completely unedited. Hence the title, Lazy Vlogs, and people lapped it up. Every now and then he'd offer a glimpse into the life of being a successful YouTuber. For example, he showed up at a Super Bowl party with some of the biggest names in the business.
So I'm at a Super Bowl party with Philip and a bunch of YouTubers. See if you can spot some. Okay.
And he even got invited to Philip DeFranco's wedding.
Here we are at Phil's wedding. Phil DeFranco. There's a lot of people dancing. It's the end of the night. We had a wonderful time. free food. I ate most of it. That's Jacqueline.
It looked like an incredible time to be Toby Turner, and it seemed like he was sharing his entire life with his audience. But remember the Super Bowl party, the wedding, and the name Jacqueline for later, because there were dark things going on behind the scenes that Toby wasn't showing on camera. In 2010, Toby launched his gaming channel and again became one of the pioneers of that genre. He was playing Minecraft for millions of people when Dream was just 12 years old. Gaming videos became an obsession. Even after taking multiple breaks from uploading, sometimes years at a time, there are still over 5,200 videos on the TobyGames channel. And it was his love of Minecraft that catapulted him from regular YouTuber to one of the biggest names on the platform. Thanks to his musical talent, he already had a hit comedy song called Nugget in a Biscuit, which got 41 million views.
Nugget, biscuit, nugget in a biscuit, nugget, biscuit, nugget in a biscuit.
Toby started releasing comedy songs related to his favorite game. In Minecraft, monsters don't spawn at night if there's a torch nearby, which gave birth to his first super popular music video.
I got a safety torch, put it on your body, it's a safety torch.
Music videos get a ton of views on YouTube because they're replayable, and Toby used this to great success. Safety Torch got 65 million views, but that was nothing compared to I Can Swing My Sword, which came out a few months later and got 93 million views.
Do you like my sword, 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 my diamond sword, sword, you cannot afford.
Toby had not one, not two, but 3 successful channels at a time where even hitting 1 million subscribers was rare. His main channel, Tobuscus, hit 1 million in June 2011, and things snowballed from there. By the end of 2014, he had 6 million subscribers on his main channel, 6 million on TobyGames, and even though there was no real point to it, he reached a peak of 2 million subscribers on his vlog channel just through his sheer popularity. He even had a Tobuscus video game coming out, and it got so much attention that it led to one of the most unlikely collaborations you've ever seen.
Today on my show, I got a very, very special guest, the one and only Toby Turner, in the motherfucking house.
On camera, Toby was laughing all the time, and for good reason. But something was coming that would take that laughter away and change his career forever. On April 8, 2016, one of Toby's ex-girlfriends, April Fletcher, created a Tumblr post titled The Truth About Tobuscus, in which she leveled a ton of accusations against YouTube's golden boy. She said, "I was being cheated on from day one, and he thought it was a game to keep going when I said no." But that was only the start. Bear in mind that this next section took place in 2013. April said that was when the drugs really started. This was when the abuse started getting really violent. She alleges that after a heated argument, he sexually assaulted her while she was crying and telling him to stop. And on another occasion, he spiked her drink and she has no idea what happened after that. At one point, she even considered suicide due to all the trauma. April also said that she wasn't the only person she knew of that had been abused by Toby. And sure enough, over the next few days, more and more women spoke out about him. One of his exes, Amelia Talon, also claimed she had been drugged by him. And the following day, Jacqueline Glenn, who we first met earlier in the video, released a 21-minute video discussing her own experiences with Toby.
When we started dating, I got several girls that would come up to me and warn me. They thought that like he was this horrible monster of a person.
Although Jacqueline says Toby cheated on her and said he sometimes made her do things she was uncomfortable doing, she also had some interesting things to say about Toby's drug habit in April.
A lot of people, have come to me and told me like when you dated him, like you helped a lot. But one of the things that I heard, and one of the reasons why I didn't really like when he would hang out with April, was because I knew that she was one of the people that introduced him to Molly.
And she also raised some questions about the validity of April's sexual assault claim.
Hard for me to imagine a situation where a girl was saying, no, I don't want you, and him being like, too bad. Like, it just doesn't make sense, because like that ruined it for him every time with us.
Throughout this whole time, Toby stayed silent, though the same couldn't be said of his mother, Jackie. She posted to Facebook saying that April's claims of assault were supposed to have taken place in her house and denied they ever happened. And she even said that April and Toby had never been dating in the first place. Then, more and more of Toby's exes started making videos, and the accusations from everyone involved got wilder and wilder. Melanie Murphy said that Toby had cheated on her with Jacqueline, and that she had become very aware of Toby's toxic behavior.
However, to answer everyone's questions, I was never abused, drugs forced on me. I also don't see him as someone who is a threat to your children and all this crap that I'm reading, based on no solid evidence.
Then, Tara Babcock slammed Amelia Talon in a video of her own.
But she didn't mention that when I introduced them, she was married. And she went ahead and slept with him the same day of her own accord, and took Molly the same day of her own accord.
And she painted a similar picture of Toby to Jacqueline.
And as far as being sexually abusive, I remember one time that I asked him to choke me and he felt really bad about it and only did it for like 2 seconds very lightly. I can't imagine him being more rough than I would want.
The story was a total mess, and after being covered by Keemstar on Drama Alert, it dominated the internet for the next few days.
So many people in your personal life have come forward with really creepy stories about you. And if what they're saying is true, you're kind of fucked up.
After all this, Toby finally released a very short response.
I've never done anything without her consent. These allegations are absolutely false.
The story was also picked up by Toby's former frequent collaborator, Philip DeFranco. And he mentioned something a lot of fans of YouTubers don't want to hear.
Like many YouTubers, Toby is a different person off camera.
Since he had many interactions with Toby over the years, he had plenty to reveal, and a few of them cut deep.
He might be one of the worst boyfriends in the world. I don't even know if he could spell monogamy.
And remember Toby's vlogs from Phil's wedding and the Super Bowl party earlier?
There have been accusations recently about Molly. There have been accusations in the past about cocaine use. Those last 2 instances were my wedding. And another was a Super Bowl party around 3 years ago where we had to make him leave because he did something indecent in front of one of my female employees.
Looking back on the vlogs now, we get to see them in a whole new light.
What?
Still talking.
I don't ever stop. I talk even when I'm not vlogging. She knows. These are my friends. Blah, blah, blah. They have no idea who I am.
Toby's response to these allegations led him on a dark path towards conspiracies and befriending one of the most controversial figures of recent times. But we'll get to that. As immediately after these allegations, Toby went silent again. His gaming and vlogs channel were dormant for months. After the first allegation dropped on April 8th, the next video on his main channel was on May 20th. It was called Your Questions Answered, but it wasn't what people were expecting. It was just a joke video where Toby answered questions about dragonflies from the perspective of his dog.
I love dragonflies. See, they live up to 7 years.
In fact, the next 3 videos on his main channel didn't feature his face at all. There was a new short episode of his regular Tobuscus adventure series and another animated music video. The next video to properly feature Toby was in July, and it was a cover of Budapest by George Ezra, with the description simply saying, "For you." Uploading serious music wasn't something Toby had done in years, and the comments section was filled with support from his loyal fans. The top comment today is still, "One day people will say you were one of the greatest YouTube comebacks ever, but they couldn't have been more wrong." Sexual assault allegations, whether proven or not, will always hang over your head, and Toby's decline was noticeable. At the height of his popularity, he would regularly get well over 1 million views on videos. But from 2016 onwards, it became more and more rare. Even his literal trailers just weren't hitting like they used to. Red Dead Redemption 2 was one of the most anticipated games ever, but his trailer could only manage a few 100,000 views. His channels were also hemorrhaging subscribers. By the end of the year, his vlogs channel had dipped back below 2 million subs. Of course, Toby blamed April and the other women who had spoken out about him. He had even considered a lawsuit against multiple people involved. But it took him over 2 years to publicly defend himself. In 2017, the Me Too movement began, a social campaign against sexual abuse and harassment. A ton of famous people came out saying they had been victims, prompting many more to share their own stories. And Toby used Me Too as an opportunity to share his side of the story.
The Me Too movement is important because it gave women the confidence to speak out and use their voice. But it's important, I think, for men to be able to do the same. And so I decided it was time for me to use my own. Even though everyone I've ever known who is intelligent recommended I don't.
He denied April's claims and said that after the alleged night, they remained friends for a long time after, while she still had feelings for him.
A few years later, we went to Disneyland, where she told me that she loved me more than anyone in the world and she'd never love anybody more.
And then Toby made a huge claim that, if true, would be a massive revelation in the whole story.
Then she said that I had the wrong idea and that she had a boyfriend at the time, and also that he was accused of by a Tumblr post. That sucks that someone would do something like that they would falsely accuse someone and that it destroyed him. And there were no repercussions for the woman. So a few months after this, she made her own Tumblr post about me.
So he's claiming that April got the idea of falsely accusing someone of sexual assault and used it against him in order to destroy his career. And parts of Toby's work life were absolutely affected, as he was dropped from a number of projects.
For 2 years, I felt like I was stabbed in the back and left to die while the world told me it was my fault. I almost gave up, but I didn't, and I won't. So, give me my f***ing show back and my book deal for young adults. Stupid lying bitch.
That year, Toby had also spoken about Philip DeFranco and how he had felt betrayed by a former friend.
His video, he talked about, I was at his wedding and I was like, drunk at his wedding. And then he used that in the video where, all the stuff went down to paint me to be a bad person, to paint people to think that maybe I actually did do that stuff. So I would say that wasn't, I wouldn't have done that to him. I wouldn't have done that to somebody else. And, that was dirty. He didn't need to include that part, except that he, maybe wanted me to burn.
And he even claimed that Philip was one of the reasons for his promiscuity.
Philip DeFranco always told me, he was like, you shouldn't have a girlfriend. You shouldn't have a girlfriend. You should just be like, you're Toby Turner. You should bang everybody.
Much like with the timing of April's Tumblr post, people wondered why Toby had taken so long to speak out. He said he had been told not to say anything at the time, but why take that advice and then go against it years later when people had started to forget? Perhaps it was because his YouTube career had never recovered, and he needed someone to blame. And while the allegations certainly did cause some of Toby's fans to leave, that doesn't tell the full story. Because what Toby didn't want to admit was that his channels were in decline long before April's post. Remember his massive rise in popularity throughout 2013? It was impressive, but it turned out to hit a ceiling. TobyGames hit 6 million subscribers in December 2013, and Tobuscus reached 6 million in August 2014. But that was it. Over the next 2 years until April's allegations, Toby just couldn't seem to gain any new fans, and that was nobody's fault but his. After years of constant uploads, Toby was totally burned out. It seemed like he had run out of ideas, and as the views dropped, apparently, so did his motivation. Toby had been the king of being eternally online, but the time between videos he had to put a lot of work into got further and further apart. He was going back to old ideas in the hope that he could recapture some of his early fame. He even briefly shed his kid-friendly persona when he teamed up with Trojan to market lube on his Instagram. Being sponsored by a sex product after the wave of allegations he'd faced that very year didn't seem the smart thing to do. But perhaps times were hard with views dwindling and work drying up. And nothing screamed of desperation more than when over the course of 1 month in 2017, he released Nugget in a Biscuit 2, Nuggets Roasting on an Open Fire, and Nugget in a Biscuit on a Keyboard. Toby was scraping the barrel and also started taking extended breaks from uploading.
Hi, how are you? Me? I can't complain. Just kidding.
If there's a surefire way to make fans forget about you, it's to stop uploading regularly. But Toby was trying to lay the blame for his decline anywhere other than his own feet, even coming up with some pretty interesting conspiracy theories.
They pay people to be bounty hunters to go out and just kill the channels and reputation and souls of their other channels.
Toby has hundreds of videos on his main channel with over 1 million views. But since 2018, he's only had 2. In one of them, he blamed the YouTube algorithm for taking away his views.
Do you happen to know the person who handles the algorithm situation? Because I would just love to go to their house and just ask him a question.
And in the other, he made up a fake email from YouTube that said they'd be changing the way the algorithm works, essentially so Toby would get more views. For a while, it seemed like he was going to go the route of people like Keemstar and other channels he hated by spreading controversy for clicks. Toby presented himself as a proud Republican, disagreed with COVID lockdowns, and told people to vote for Trump in the 2020 election to preserve America, end cancel culture, and stand against fascism. Which, of course, ruffled a few feathers. But that was only the beginning. In 2022, he met one of the most divisive figures from recent years.
Hello once again, audience. Hope I didn't lose you yesterday, because I posted a picture of me being with this fella by the name of Kyle Rittenhouse.
Rittenhouse shot 3 men, killing 2 of them and injuring another during civil unrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin in 2020. He was cleared of homicide, attempted homicide, and reckless endangerment by the jury after his lawyers claimed he was acting in self-defense. And it became a political issue. 2/3 of Republican voters thought he should have been acquitted, while 3/4 of Democrat voters thought he should be convicted. And when Toby met Kyle, in one of the most tone-deaf displays you'll ever see, they posed with fake guns. The replies to his social media posts were a mess of support, criticism, and people calling out the so-called woke mob. And things got even worse when he talked about the incident.
He unfortunately took the lives of a couple convicted pedophiles. And he didn't go looking for that. They attacked him first. It's not like he was like a pedophile hunter. People should stop praising him for hunting pedophiles. He didn't even know. He didn't even know they were pedophiles. He probably thought they were black. No, he knew they were white.
Toby called Kyle a hero and compared their situations, saying they had both been falsely accused of something and unfairly attacked online, and he thought he may have even had a hand in crafting the young man into what he was.
Like, I assumed he watched all my videos growing up. I was like, I raised this kid.
Of course, drama attracts attention, and Toby's Kyle vlog did way better than usual, getting close to 200,000 views when his previous upload only got 8K. A few weeks before, he had released a video appearing to mock trans kids.
Child can look inside and be like, hey, no, I'm a Pegasus. Be like, how do you know? Because I'm a Pegasus. All right, cut his wiener off. Cut his wiener off and make it into wings. Give him some hooves. That'll be $100 million. Oh, what a value. My child's going to be so happy. He's going to be in the front page of Rolling Stone.
Toby had taken off in his early career thanks to his ability to adapt. So after seeing the success of people like Andrew Tate, would he be reinventing himself to get his views back? Well, As had been the case since 2014, he just couldn't commit to anything new. Everything basically went back to normal. Not long after his fake YouTube email video, he took another long hiatus from uploading to his main channel. In 2023, he tried to make another comeback on Tobuscus and struggled to hit 50,000 views. He released a video on his vlogs channel in late 2023 that only reached 5,000. Nothing really gets posted to his gaming channel anymore. Even TobyTurner.com no longer exists. The Tobuscus brand is well and truly dead. Or is it? Because in January 2024, Toby posted a TikTok. It was a snippet from one of his 10-year-old comedy music videos playing over some kids dancing.
Did you know that cashews come from the fruit? Did you know that cashews come from the fruit?
And it got 1.4 million views, the first time any of his content has reached 1 million since April 2020. Is this finally the comeback Toby's been waiting for? Will it drive him to get back to creating videos? Even though he's been losing followers for years, he still has 6 million subscribers on Tobuscus and TobyGames, many of them waiting for their childhood hero to return. Of course, his audience is all grown up now. They're likely in their 20s. Toby himself is 39 years old. The kind of content his fans wanted 10 years ago has shifted. They probably want more adult stuff. And even though Toby has become a little less child-friendly over the years, he still completely censors himself. So, even though the opportunity is there, does he still have the motivation to do it? Sure, he has another viral video, but he didn't really put any effort into it. It wouldn't be surprising to see his views plummet once again. Throughout his career, Toby's described himself as an egomaniac. So has he spent so long blaming everything and everyone else? Has he not even realized what he's doing wrong? And the bigger question is, after years of stagnating and self-sabotaging, does he even want to get back on top?